Novak Djokovic is taking advantage of the recent, highly publicized disagreement is about the nicest way we can put it he's had over vaccination and the Australian government by deciding to invest in a biotech, not BioNTech, okay, but the biotech company developing a non-vaccine COVID-19 treatment. Interesting, okay? Like, I think this is a great thing, okay? Anything that can lessen suffering from people who contract a virus, who become ill or become injured, I think that's a great thing. Just as long as you don't mandate it. And I couldn't imagine that he would ever do that, but let's see what they're on about. Texas star, he's not from Texas, he's from Serbia. Tennis star Novak Djokovic and his wife own a 80% share in a Danish biotech firm developing a treatment for the coof that does not involve vaccination. Cool. Serbian native, 34, and his wife Jelena, 35. I got to dock Jovac points for marrying an older woman. Bought a majority stake in Quant Biores back in June of 2020, just months into the pandemic. The company's chief executive, Ivan Loncherovich, confirms to Reuters. Loncherovich did not say how much the stake was worth, but confirmed that Djokovic owns 40.8% and his wife owns 39.2%. Good, keeping her in her place. Quant Biores has about 12 researchers working in Denmark, Australia, and Slovenia. According to the company, developing a peptide that inhibits COVID from infecting the human cell. That's pretty cool. I wonder if you could use that technology for other viruses as well, because that would be really, really cool. The CEO stressed that the company was working on a treatment and that it's not a vaccine for COVID. Yeah, obviously, because maybe this will work. And expects to launch clinical trials in Britain this summer, according to Loncherovich. Sure. The company's website said that it started developing a deactivation mechanism for coof in July of 2020 and utilizes a unique and novel resonant recognition model. RRM is a biophysical model based on findings and certain frequencies within the distribution of energies or free electrons along the protein are critical for protein biological function and interaction with protein receptors and other targets, according to Quant Biores. The predictions can be used to help design treatments for viral diseases and resistant bacteria. With our innovative and insightful RRM technology, we strive to help humanity by developing treatment and cure for retroviruses and resistant bacteria. So exactly what they're doing. They're trying to solve the problem of coronaviruses in general, the classification, not the purposely poorly named virus. Djokovic flew out of Australia to his native Serbia on January 17th after losing a legal challenge to overturn the cancellation of his visa by Australia Immigration Minister Salty Bitch Alex Hawke. Tennis player has contended that he should be allowed to stay in the country as he has natural immunity. Honestly, the exemption had originally been granted by Tennis Australia and the Victorian government prior to his arrival in the country. But no, Hawke was like, "Oi, that ain't good enough for us now. I'm gonna make an example out of you." Like we stated at the time, yeah, Scott Morrison is just also, the Prime Minister of Australia is also being a salty bitch as well. And yeah, even the French, of course, they're waving the white flag as well as saying that there will be no exceptions. But the unvaccinated border crosser is coming up and wanting to make a new life here in France. Don't worry about it. Just please don't shoot up any more churches. We're tired of running old hashtags every once in a while once you make the shots up in the sky. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, some famous prolific athlete actually using their money for something good. It's something that you don't see enough, so that's why it's getting highlighted again. We got to talk about something else that we talked about, a long time ago. Remember that big dude who was crushing records in swim meets? I forget which college she very stunningly and bravely did for the female swim team, okay? And it's like all of a sudden, they were getting overwhelming support. Yeah, of course, if you had a fucking trump card that powerful on your team, you would definitely be supportive of it, especially if now it's just going to be signed into law because NCAA Board of Governors updates policy regarding transgender athletes by codifying it because it's the right thing to do. You might think that this is a bad thing, but hey, I want to see these policies just fall and fucking fail in record time. So go ahead, be as stunning and brave as you want, and just watch female sports dissolve and get fucking destroyed. You did this to yourself. You made the bed. Now lie on your chopped off dick. NCAA Board of Governors decided on Wednesday, that the policy pertaining to the participation of transgender athletes will now differ based on each sport, whether by abiding by national policy or the International Olympic Committee's governing bodies where applicable, as relayed by David Ryder at Swimming World. The policy alignment provides consistency and further strengthens the relationship between college sports and the U.S. Olympics, responded the NCAA president, Mark Emmert, following the governor's decision. According to the new updates, like the Olympics, which are currently, or at least they will be shortly, revising their transgender policy, but and the updated NCAA policy calls for transgender participants for each sport to be determined by policy for the national governing body of that sport, subject to ongoing review and recommendation by the NCAA Committee on Competitive Safeguards and Medical Aspects of Sports to the Board of Governors. If there is no NGB policy for the sport, that Sports International Federation policy would be followed. If there is no international federation policy previously established by the IOC policy, criteria would be followed. Board of Governors urged the division to provide flexibility, strange choice of phrasing, to allow for additional eligibility if a transgender student athlete loses eligibility based on the policy change, provided they meet the newly adopted standards. The policy is effective starting with the 2022 Winter Championships. Transgender student athletes, so they can continue to dominate at least through the spring and summer, theoretically. Transgender student athletes will need to document sport-specific testosterone levels beginning 4 weeks before the sports championship selections. Oh, okay, cool. And if you follow the IOC standard, it just needs to be lower than like 4 times that of natural occurring testosterone. This is specific to weightlifters, if I remember my Laurel Hubbard stuff, but 4 times higher than most testosterone that's naturally occurring in actual women. But if you can prove that for like, I don't know, a year beforehand, yeah, you're good to go. Starting in the 2022-2023 academic year, so not through the rest of this year. Transgender student athletes will need documented levels at the beginning of the season and a second documentation 6 months after the first. But after that, it's grow out that beard, sweetheart. You're doing fucking great work. Full implementation will begin in the 2023-2024 academic year. Oh, okay, cool. So it's just rolling out in waves like hormone therapy. The response has been expected by the NCAA over ongoing qualms related to the transgender female named Lia Thomas at the University of Pennsylvania. That's what it was. The dude who's crushing records out there, breaking the women's national 200, 500, 1650 record as well by not just a little, but by seconds and fucking minutes in some cases, if given enough time. Thomas, a male to female trans swimmer, has exhibited a significant advantage over his biologically female competition. No, all trans women are women, god damn it. Breaking the women's national 200, 500 freestyle records, responding concerns over the future of women's athletics. Oh, there's no debate over the future of women's athletics. It's going to continue. It's just going to be a bunch of B-tier men that just decide one day, yeah, I could do with a pair of tits, not in my hands, but on my chest, so that instead of taking home a participation trophy, they could take home the gold or the platinum or the fucking world record if they'd so place. That's just what the NCAA has to say, and they're deferring to the IOC. So what about the opinion of the most decorated Olympic athlete? I think it's the most decorated athlete, at least the most decorated swimmer of all time. What does old bong huffin' Michael Phelps have to say about this? It has to be a level playing field. So he's kind of walking the line. He's playing the political game just a little bit, because that right there, that stunning and brave female, is absolutely beating the brakes off these broads. Olympic swimming champion Michael Phelps has refused to say whether or not biological males should be allowed to compete in women's sports, arguing that the situation is complicated. I agree, because I love to see this type of death and destruction that's occurring, but then at the same time, it is complicated because some of those student athletes, really, really great. Speaking to CNN's Christina Amana, whatever, Idiot. The decorated athlete addressed the controversy surrounding transgender UPenn swimmer Lia Thomas, a man living as a woman. That is sexist or transphobic or I don't know. Phelps said the authorities will need to develop rules to make the competition an even playing field. Yeah, they will by about 2025 or something like that. I can talk from the standpoint of doping. Oh yeah, I bet you can, Phelps said. I don't think I've competed in a clean field my entire career, so now it's time for these bitches to anticipate and participate in the exact same way. No? Oh, okay. So I think this leads back to the organizing committees again, because it has to be a level playing field. I think that's something that we all need. Yup. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. I believe that we should all feel comfortable with who we are in our own skin. Yeah, exactly. But you don't need to act it out at the detriment of everybody else. But I think sports should be played on an even playing field. Yeah, that's about as far as he could take his comments on CNN. Because remember, this is CNN after all, okay? And they're very much pro. All women are women and kill a Republican if you see it in the streets. Phelps said the future of women's sports will be very complicated while refusing to make a declarative statement because you could see just a screenshot of what's going on there during the interview, but you can't quite see the rifle butt that's just outside of the frame. I don't know what that looks like in the future, but it's hard. It's very complicated. Sexy. I'm sure just like Lia Thomas is when she's stunning a brave woman there, is in getting her very necessary bodysuit on. So yeah, that's what's going on with not professional sports. I guess the tennis is not team professional sports. There we go. That's what's going on with the rest of this nonsense out there. But now we're going to shift gears, sort of. Okay, sort of. Because you got the degeneracy of sport, okay? Throwing one of the biggest athletes in the world right now out of a country because he hasn't got the jab, okay? The destruction of female athletics, I find it hilarious, but it really is a problem. But what about academia, where all of this shit started? Well, they just lost one of their best thinkers and one of the most prolific thought leaders in the world because the institutions are failing. And if this is going to lead to something greater in the aftermath, I'm all for it. Let's talk about that up next. With that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.